Welcome to the Rocky and Meisty Show presented by Jew Stool. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Let's get right into it.
That's what I think.
That is a hot take.
Tell you what, Morty, I'm picking the Lions to upset here, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, Rocky.
Ridiculous answer. If the Ravens had J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Marcus Peters, L.J. Fort, they'd be the best team.
No, I'm completely missing the boat on. You're at the wrong dock. Meisty, what do you think about this game? The Bengals got a shot?
I have here written down in my pamphlet, I have Bengals 35, Chiefs 30. I'm sorry to say it. If Bengals are going to the Super Bowl, they're the hottest team in football right now.
They playoffs with Jared Goff already. They made the Super Bowl with Jared Goff already. They didn't need Matthew Stafford to make the playoffs. They had that taken care of already. They got Matthew Stafford so that they can win these big games.
The most insane, crazy thing that we have never, ever seen before. Granted, they had 2 timeouts, but
I'm curious.
We want to talk about legacy-defining plays and legacy-defining throws. 13 seconds, and you get the ball in field goal range. That is absolutely insane.
Okay, and guess what? In basketball, you use a basketball. In football, you use a football.
Breaking news, Meisty. Breaking news once again. We've had like 17 breaking newses over the last week. Breaking news, Matt Ryan.
Love it.
I know. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I tweeted yesterday. I'm like, sometimes, and people I'm gonna get a lot of slack for this, but I said sometimes NFL free agency makes me forget about March Madness. I know it's a very controversial opinion, and it's not up to bang on March Madness, but NFL free agency, particularly this year with the quarterback carousel that we're undergoing right now, has just been a thriller. So Matt Ryan is going to Indy for a third-round pick, Meisty. A third-round pick.
Yeah.
They just traded Carson Wentz and in return received 2 third-round picks. Now they flipped that for one of those third-round picks for a quarterback much superior to Carson Wentz, if you ask me, albeit older, in Matt Ryan. Your initial thoughts when you saw this trade, Meisty?
Yeah, I said steal. I got a phone call. Someone called me and they're like, hey, Matt Ryan to the Falcons, what do you think? And I was just like, for what? And the guy said, third round pick. And I said, that's it? No player, nothing? They're like, that's it. And I was like, that's the biggest steal I've ever heard. If I've heard of a steal, that's a steal. I mean, they, like you said, they took 2 third round picks, traded now one of those for Matt Ryan, who's been to the Super Bowl, who you can't blame him for the Super Bowl loss as much as you can blame everyone on the team. It was the team loss.
28-3, that's
right. So he scored 28 points in the first half, and then nothing else came after. I mean, I don't know what more you can ask from a guy. Either way, I think the Colts will get much better, and with Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he's really just got hands off to Jonathan Taylor a lot this year. It's going to be a big job, and he's going to be good at it. And I'm saying, like, really, I really think that when they have a running back opening up the passing game for him, it'll be huge for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's a lot to unpack here. Like you said, steal. Absolutely steal. Like, how do you trade 2 third-rounders? How do you get 2 third-rounders and then for half of that get a guy that's much better at quarterback? Like, I don't understand. I know Carson Wentz is a lot younger, but he just hasn't been good in 4 years. We're talking about Matt Ryan that's been a top 10 quarterback throughout the course of his entire career. Now he's crept a little back toward average over the last couple of years, obviously. He's not as good as he used to. He's 36 years old. But if you're a Colts team that, you already have a good roster, like you mentioned, Pittman and a couple other weapons, this is a good window. There's only one problem with this, Meisty. Do the Colts really think they're contenders in the AFC? Like, let's be honest here. Do they? I don't know. Like, there are so many teams that are stacked now and that are moving all these great quarterbacks. We know the Deshaun Watson trade that's transpired in AFC North and AFC West that are stacked with talented quarterbacks. And now the Colts are going to come in here. Granted, they can take the division. That's true. But is this like an all-in move? Is this sort of not an all-in move, sort of a middle all-in move? Like, where are the Colts going with this? Do they think they're going to win a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan?
Okay, so at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do to compete in the season.
That's true.
What are you going to do that everything is stacked? There's nothing you can do that the AFC just got stacked like that, right? A lot of teams hit in the draft. A lot of teams just traded for their quarterback. But you have to remember this, like you just said, they can win their division. It's a weaker division compared to the other divisions in the AFC. For sure, it's a weaker division. You just have the Titans. You'll have the Jaguars. We'll see what they can do. And then you just have the Texans who we'll find out what they end up doing. But the other thing that's going for them, though, right, is they can win games in their division. If they can win games in their division while other teams play their division, you have the Ravens playing the Bengals and the Browns and the Steelers.
That's true.
Broncos, Chiefs. Those teams, somebody has to win. Somebody has to lose. You can just win your division games. You win games, you can get yourself into a playoff spot. while other teams are fighting each other, right, in their own divisions. Now, that doesn't mean that everything's going to go their way. You know, Matt Ryan has shown weaknesses, but their defense is strong. Their offense is strong. You have to do to try to win games, and you're going to have to compete. Are they a Super Bowl winning team? No. Can they go on a run? Sure.
Yeah. And look at look what happened last year, right? Had they not blown up against the Jaguars in Week 18, they would have made the playoffs with inferior Carson Wentz at quarterback, right? So obviously you're correct. They have 2 games against the Jaguars, 2 games against the Texans, and the Titans have a lot of question marks surrounding them as well. A good roster, but it's just going to be them and the Titans. Like, the rest of the AFC is so talented. The AFC South is not a very good division. Pending Trevor Lawrence's, but the Texans are clearly rebuilding. The Jaguars have been rebuilding for a while now. They had 2 straight number 1 overall picks. Absolutely. In terms of division, I think it's a good move. They can go all in to try to win the division, and that's great, and they have a good roster. It's a good move in the Colts part. I like it to steal. I just don't necessarily know if this makes them Super Bowl contenders, but you're right. You got to do what you got to do. You can't necessarily say Super Bowl or bust. We have an opportunity right now, the Colts said to themselves, to snag a guy like Matt Ryan, even if it's only for a year or 2. He's still playing at a pretty good level. He's still a solid quarterback, not as good as he used to be. Solid quarterback for a 3rd-round pick. We'll take on that salary. Now, the next question is, Meisty, this might have a lot of bearing on one Baker Mayfield, right? Because Baker Mayfield was supposed to go to the Falcons, according to some reports about that. Falcons, maybe some teams in the AFC South. The question now becomes, what is the most likely landing spot for Baker Mayfield? I actually put a poll out on Twitter. You can go check that out if you want to. Where will Baker Mayfield land? So how do you think this affects Baker Mayfield's market? Do you think this shrinks his market?
I mean, the question is how much does it cost him? What does it cost right now for Baker? But not even that. I mean, there are teams, right, that need quarterbacks. So it's not a quarterback draft this year. You're right. So you got to find another way to find a quarterback. And this is the way teams are getting quarterbacks, I guess. They're just trading for them and just getting whatever they can. You have teams like Seattle who need a quarterback. You have teams like Houston who need a quarterback. Maybe the Giants. The Giants will get that, Danny Dimes to run for his money because bringing in Baker. But the ultimate question is, how good is Baker Mayfield? Is he a starting quarterback? Does he just maybe back up Watson for the year? Maybe does he,
Doubtful.
Doubtful. Right, but does he hope that maybe Watson doesn't play some games and he looks good for a couple of games? He goes out, has a strong performance, gets traded.
I don't see that scenario. I
mean, what do the Browns do with him?
I mean, I could, to a certain extent, I could hear that scenario more now because I do think that the market for Baker is shrinking. So I don't think the Browns are going to get a 1st-round pick for him even. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I really don't think so. Like, at best, maybe they'll get a 2nd-round pick from him, and that's not what they envisioned when they traded for Deshaun Watson. I would imagine they envisioned getting a 1st-round pick, maybe a 1st and a 3rd, something like that, a good package. And Adam Schefter reported, I think, that there's not really such a high market for him now, especially the Falcons now obviously not wanting to trade for a quarterback. And now he's not going to go to the Colts because the Colts traded for Matt Ryan. So what's going to happen here? Now, I do think you're right, Meisty. You pointed out something very interesting, right? Like, teams are either we're rebuilding, so we're gonna dump our top players and trade them and get value, or we're gonna go all in and trade for veteran good quarterbacks, right? Now Baker Mayfield gives you this in between stage where he's still on his 5th year of his rookie contract. You don't have to invest an incredible amount of salary into him just for this year and see what you have in him. Baker has had 2 really good years and 2 really bad years in his career. Which Baker Mayfield are we going to see in year 5? That can strongly determine what happens after that. So let's say you are a team like the Seahawks, for example, okay? And the Seahawks don't have a great roster, but they do need a quarterback for the future. So you take a guy like Baker Mayfield, don't expect to win right away. But if Baker has a great year, you extend that contract and you say, we got ourselves a former number 1 overall pick that's proven in the past that he can be a really productive quarterback in this league. That can be a move for the Seahawks. You don't have to invest so much salary. You can still continue that rebuild while having a Baker Mayfield under center. What's wrong with that?
Right. So the Seattle can afford him at $31 million in cap space.
Is that what he is this year? The 5th-year option?
No, he has a 5th-year option and it's cost $18.
That makes more sense. Yeah, 31 seemed like a lot. 18 is not that much.
$31 million is how much the Seattle cap space is right now. Who else needs a quarterback
The Panthers, but do they really want to? I mean,
Panthers, they
honestly,
don't have as much. They have very little money.
and Darnold was expensive. Darnold was expensive.
Darnold's expensive.
Yeah, but honestly, like any of those teams, $18 million to test out a guy as talented as Baker Mayfield, I'm taking that chance if I need a quarterback. Like, even if don't expect to win right away, but this could pan out in the future, and he could really pan out to be a better quarterback than a lot of people think. He had the injury, he battled that the entire season. People forget that this man was one of the best quarterbacks in football down the stretch in 2020. 2021 was a down year for him, but that could be because of the injuries. We don't know this guy can perform at a high level. I'm willing to take a chance for $18 million and see what I have in this guy. If I'm one of those teams that need a quarterback, I'm willing to take that chance. The Bears are committed to Justin Fields. I don't know if a team like the Bears, but the Panthers, if they can afford him, the Saints, who are quarterback away from having a really good roster.
They just brought back Jameis.
Oh, the Saints brought back Jameis?
Yeah.
Never mind about that. The Saints brought back Jameis. I didn't even know that. Okay, well, this is right after the Matt Ryan trade. Jameis happened after Matt Ryan, obviously.
Yeah, let's see what happens. I think Jameis Winston.
Oh, the Saints brought back Jameis. Okay, forget about the Saints then. So let's just move on from the Saints. But the Panthers, the Falcons.
Seattle and the Panthers, and that's it. What else?
I mean, right, the Panthers and Seattle. Right, I guess there's not such a huge mark for them. Okay, so concluding.
The Texans.
Maybe the Texans already just traded Deshaun Watson. First of all, if they wanted Baker, that would have been included in the trade.
I don't understand. When I heard Deshaun Watson to the Browns, I thought, okay, Baker's to the Texans.
I also,
and then someone's like, no, he's not involved in the trade. I'm thinking, what are the Browns doing? Why? Think about it like this. They could have gotten even more for Baker. Think about it. You're getting rid of Deshaun Watson because you don't want him, right? Because of everything that's going on, you don't want him. Okay, we'll take him. Here's Baker. Give us, we'll still send you something, but in return, we're going to get something else. They could have given up less. They could have given up much less for Deshaun Watson. I should say it like that. That's basically what I mean.
Maybe. I hear where you're going to a certain extent. Like, theoretically, let's say the Browns threw Baker into that trade to the Texans. Maybe they could have took another first-round pick out of that trade and only traded 2, which would have been valuable because they're probably not going to get a first-round pick for him now. So you're right. There could have been added value there. I just don't know if the Texans wanted him. The Texans are clearly rebuilding. They don't see Baker as a rebuilding quarterback, even though on a rookie contract, that's my point. My point is, why can't Baker be a part of a rebuild? Why not? He's still on a rookie contract. For one more year, he can be a part of a team that's rebuilding this year.
All right, 1 year, though, that's tough.
Right, a team that's rebuilding, take him on for 1 year.
It's not a cheap year.
$18 million is not that much to invest in a guy that really has a lot of potential.
I mean, Seattle has the receivers. So get him in there. Let him. I mean, he'll just get hit a bunch. That'll suck.
Yeah, their offensive line is awful. But listen, they get a couple pieces.
I mean, but like I said, maybe Baker just stays on the Browns and just sucks it. I don't know. He's gonna hate it, but I mean, I don't know. Right now, it doesn't seem like anyone.
What do you think? Let's see. What do you think is the most likely scenario? All said and done for Baker Mayfield. Do you have an opinion on this?
The question even is this. Is anyone even interested in Baker Mayfield? Let's see.
Yes, but at what cost is the question? At what cost? I think Baker ultimately ends up getting traded.
Came out yesterday.
Baker ultimately ends up getting traded for not even a first round pick to whoever it is. I don't think they'll get a first pick out of him, which is not what the Browns envisioned. But listen, the Browns are still going to be well poised.
The only team that's even interested in him are the Seahawks.
You don't think the Panthers? Maybe. Right.
No, it seems like there's only one landing spot, and that's the Seahawks. Otherwise, I haven't seen any on them.
Okay, we'll see if a new team emerges. So we have Ryan going over to Indy. Ryan going to Indy in the Dome, where he actually thrives behind a good offensive line. I love that. Because Ryan, when he's passing from a clean pocket, is a very good thrower of the footballs, but it was top 10, top 12 quarterback in football last year when he did have that clean pocket. Didn't have that so often in Atlanta. But he's going to have
an easier division.
And it's an easier division, has a good solid offensive line, going to a Dome where he performs better. I like this match. And I think the Colts can win some games this year. I think the Colts can definitely win some games this year. Matt Ryan to the Colts. What will happen with Baker Mayfield? We will find out.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a great day.